Hello everyone and welcome to PGA Coaching Live, presented by Cadillac from the incredible Kiawah Island Ocean Course. We're here to bring you the very best advice from the world's top PGA professionals and coaches to help your game if you one day want to play like the tour pros, or maybe you just want to break 100 for the first time. Maybe you just want to give golf a shot. No matter what, we want you to have fun. From mental coaching to swing analysis, we've got you covered as we explore the ways to help every golfer of any ability perform better and have more fun with the sport. And we welcome you back into our PGA Coaching Live set right here on the Players Practice Range, the beautiful ocean course. We are steps from the Atlantic Ocean. And speaking of the Players Practice Range, Steve, it actually cleared out for about 20 minutes because we had a nice rainstorm come through.
We did. We were able to tuck away a little bit and stay. But the weather really didn't impact. Not too much moisture out there to really impact the playing conditions. This golf course is still going to play really firm and fast. But superintendent may be a little happy about that, getting a little moisture on the golf course.
Sure. And let's talk about some of the things that we've seen on this show so far. So much amazing instruction. Short game, putting, driving. What stood out to you so far as some of your favorites?
Well, there's lots. I mean, we love Dave Stockton. I mean, with his putting tips. To have Shane Beamer here yesterday
that was
with
awesome.
the Gamecocks football coach. That was really cool to get his insight on coaching, and we're going to even have other coaches and other ideas talking about that as well. But it's just so much fun to get inside the minds of all these great coaches and find out how they motivate everybody that they work with.
Yeah, and Rick Sessinghaus earlier, Colin Morikawa's coach. So interesting to hear the mental side of the game that he specializes in.
Yeah, the doctorate in sports psychology. I mean, this game is so mental. I think the biggest thing that it's important to learn at home is the golf swing itself and all this technical stuff that we're talking with you is not the end-all be-all. It's not all the pieces of the pie, so to speak, to finalize your score at the end of the day. And so you have to get your brain and all the strategy involved in dialing in your scores and getting them to where you want.
Sure, but we're going to show you something for the physical game right now, Coach. Go ahead and lead us into a tip.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, the PGA coach and Hall of Fame member, Bob Toski, big mentor of mine in the game, and learned from Bob hundreds of hours. But Bob was really impactful for me in all his passion. But one thing that he talked to me about is without motion in your golf swing, you can create a lot of commotion. So I want you to think about 1972 PGA champion Gary Player, or even 2013 PGA champion Jason Dufner. And this is all about the physical trigger that each of them use to start their motion. We talk a lot about technique, whether it's grip, whether it's where our shaft plane needs to be, how much our hips need to move, et cetera, et cetera. But there's a glue, so to speak, that really gets this part of this golf swing dialed in, and it's the physical trigger. So Gary Player had this knee kick, and then he would start the backswing. Jason Dufner, waggle, whatever it is, it can be different for each of you, but whatever it is, make sure you have some sort of physical trigger to start your swing. I think it's super important, and then it allows your athleticism to just shine through. A couple waggles. And fire it right at the pin.
I love the waggle, Steve. Great
Gotta
stuff.
keep it in motion.
Well, earlier today, some of the players playing in the PGA Championship started to arrive for their final day of preparations. And let's take a look at who came in. Here we got Colin Morikawa, the 2020 PGA Championship winner, making his way into the ocean course.
And all these players are riding in style.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, this is these Cadillac vehicles they're tremendous.
We've got Max Homa.
Genesis Invitational champion. There's Tommy.
Oh, that's actually Tommy Fleetwood.
That's Tommy Fleetwood. Yes, he's got it.
There we go. We see the hair.
Yeah, well, we see all the conditioner and the hair products inside the vehicle too as backups there. That's why he has so many bags. I mean, you need all these things to keep
the product
moving.
I don't know. It flows really nicely in the wind. I don't think he has that much product in there. It looks natural. All right, here's Max Homa. There we go.
There's Max Homa, and we're gonna have
Mark
Max.
Blackburn.
We're gonna have Max Homa's coach, Mark Blackburn, the 2020 PGA Teacher of the Year, on here in just a moment. But
4 players in the field for Mark Blackburn this week.
Very, very nice. He's played some great golf this year.
And here is Will Zalatoris.
This player right here, this player, I've got to give him a great chance to win this week. He has played some wonderful golf. I mean, just the fact that he came from over 2,000 in the world, and now he's in the top 50 in the world and playing the PGA this week.
And cool as a cucumber. And lastly, Scotty Scheffler.
Yeah, Scotty Scheffler, University of Texas product.
All right, so whether you want to break 100 for the first time, or maybe you want to win the Wanamaker Trophy like Rory McIlroy did in 2012 and 2014, we've got you covered.
The PGA Championship begins this Thursday with its flourish of thrills and emotions as past champions and challengers alike will compete for the prestigious Wanamaker Trophy.
I was in a very good state of mind all week, and then I felt once we got to the weekend, especially Sunday, you know, I felt like it was time to go get it. I love having the little plate in my locker saying the 2017 champion, but I would like to have a lot more years on there.
The 103rd edition of the event will take place on the notoriously demanding ocean course at Kiawah Island in South Carolina.
I think that's something about this place. You know, no lead is safe. I mean, out here, it's especially those last couple holes, but really the entire golf course. I mean, you have trouble, you can lose a golf ball on any shot. You get some crosswinds, you have to hit the ball very solid, you have to place it, and hitting the fairways is a premium, and it's got some teeth. It's really just going to be about adapting, and patience is going to be key this week. And I think the person that's able to do that and not get worked up, I think is going to have a good chance.
It's great to be here with 2020 PGA Teacher and National Coach of the Year, Mr. Mark Blackburn. Welcome to our set here at PGA Coaching Live.
Great to be with you guys.
We've watched you out there in the break after our previous segment. We were watching you out there doing some work with Max Homa. Played some great golf this year, won at Riviera earlier in the year. His golf swing's looking great. What sort of things have you been working on with Max specifically, really to get his game in gear for here and the previous few months that he's been playing so well?
Yeah, so when Max and I started, he was struggling primarily with his short game and his wedge game, and we kind of looked at, look, physically you can't do what you're trying to do, so we kind of really revamped it to, this is what your body wants to do, here's a way for you to be able to go about it, and then obviously now his results are showing. So winning at Riv was huge, and then this week he's got a good chance, hits it a long way, he's got a nice short game and a good iron game.
Well, you don't just have Max in the field, you have 3 other competitors in the field, Charlie Hoffman and Ches Reavie and Adam Hadwin. How do you, as a coach, and we have to do this as PGA coaches all the time, whether you're coaching tour players or whether you're coaching the weekend warriors, you have to figure out how each player and how their brain ticks and what they respond to. How do you do that and jumping down the range like you do?
Yeah, so I'd say every player has a recipe that is going to work for them, and you're trying to look at the ingredients for that. And then it's a bit like if you're a parent, I got kids, you treat each player like one of your kids, and you kind of have a different relationship with all of them. the key to coaching is knowing which buttons to press and which ones not to press. So with these guys, it's really about how do you motivate them, how do you keep them engaged, what are the things that they need to do to play well this week, and every single one of them is different. The hardest part is time management. How do you give each guy enough time? So it's a bit of a juggling act, but that's the joy of coaching.
Well, when you're the National Teacher of the Year, yeah, you're going to be very well sought after.
Mark, you talked about each player having their own recipe, and we have Colt Knost coming on here in just a little bit. I know you've been working with him. Tell us a little bit about working with him and his recipe.
Yeah, so when Colt came to me, he had just come off a wrist injury. So it was one of those things where he's obviously a great player, won the US AMs, played a lot of great rounds of golf, but he was trying to do something that was really aggravating his wrist. So we basically looked at it and said, all right, Colt, we need to kind of do some things, change how you deliver the golf club, but yet take stress off your wrist. And so that's really what we did. We looked at how he moves physically. Okay, we need to change some things. And then we basically got his club face a lot stronger so that he didn't have to do quite as much down the bottom through the hit. So obviously he's doing a lot more commentary on TV with you guys now, that type of thing, which he's really good at. But he's one of the straightest hitters. So all we really did was try and give him something that would take some stress off his body. And for all of us who play golf, you want to find a coach that allows you to have a golf swing that's going to work for you. And that's all you're trying to do, even with these guys out here, the best players in the world. If the swing matches what they can do physically, they're going to be successful.
Right, and you're based in Birmingham, Alabama, so I believe you just gave a lesson to Nick Saban,
yeah,
one of the other coaches of the year.
Yeah, yeah.
How'd that go?
The GOAT, yeah, Marty Smith and I were down there in Tuscaloosa. It was great. There was some really interesting philosophical conversations on coaching. Coach Saban obviously is a coach, and so not all coaches necessarily will take coaching that well sometimes.
I can't imagine.
But it was good. It was a lot of fun. And honestly, Jay Sewell, who's the coach at Alabama, works with him on his golf game, and they've been working on a lot of the right things. So, I mean, I really was just validating, hey, most of what you're doing is pretty good. You could try a few different things, but as they say, it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks.
What sort of things do you learn from a coach like Nick Saban? I mean, he has such a great mindset as far as motivating players. I mean, what sort of things maybe did you take away from that experience?
Yeah, so the best thing he said to me was he had been doing things a certain way until when he was at Michigan State, they kept getting beat by Ohio State. And then he tried more of a process-orientated sort of strategy for a game, and they ended up winning this game. And he said that was the switch that turned his coaching career around. And I'd say, much like him, I'm pretty pragmatic. I try and have and I'm sure Colt will tell you, like, this is the way you should go about it for you. These are the things you need to do. If you work the plan, you'll be successful. And I think that was one of the things. He was very much sort of in line with me. If you put in the work, you're disciplined, you do the right things, you're going to have good outcomes as opposed to kind of just winging it. And so that was really good. It was sort of validating that if you have a coaching approach and a philosophy, you stick to it and you have a plan, your players are going to be successful.
So as all these players are so talented, obviously their physical game, I mean, it's just nth degrees off here and there. It's like fine-tuning a race car. But how much of the mental side do you work with maybe on a week like this as opposed to the physical? How do you balance that?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I think one of the things you're always trying to do is figure out where are they in the sort of their game. Right. If their game is on, then it's more a question of, okay, how do we keep them pretty, sort of don't let them get ahead of themselves. If they're struggling, it's then how do we try and cue into something to make them play well? But I'd say the weeks like this, you're always trying to be positive, give them something that they can kind of latch onto so they can go out to the golf course and play. And this golf course is really, really difficult.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask you about. Your overall impressions of the course and just how you go about getting your players prepared for just a monster of this magnitude.
Yeah, so I always say you got to adapt as a player. You've got to be able to sort of understand what's going on. I got here on Saturday with Charlie, and we've played obviously a lot of rounds. I've seen the golf course in about 4 or 5 different wind conditions now. You've got to understand how you're going to play based on the wind. You know there's going to be some holes that are really, really difficult, and you're basically treading water on that point. Par's a great score. It's a bit like, I use the analogy of being in the casino at the craps table. You're going to get a run. You have to wait and hold on until you get your run. On this golf course is going to be the same. And so everybody's 72 holes, you're going to have to weather some really difficult conditions, some holes that are going to play really hard depending on where the wind's coming from. It's making par, getting it up and down, gritting it through that so that then when your run comes that you can take advantage of it. But it's definitely a golf course where There's a premium on strategy-wise, where are you going to leave the ball so that you have an easy up and down. And those are the things that we're out there today in the last few days really preparing for, is how do I, for my game, attack the golf course as best as I possibly can.
You know, one of your other players, Charlie Hoffman, he's had a tremendous longevity on the PGA Tour. How do you manage that? I know that you're a TPI certified coach, really understands how the body works. When you age a little bit, you start to get in your 40s, and all the, you know, as we start to age, how do you manage that and working with these players as well? What do you teach them?
Yeah, so I would say, look, the game's changing. If you look at the players that are coming up now, we've had the advantage of understanding the physiology and the body. So like younger players are stronger, bigger, faster. So with the older guys, someone like Charlie, he's worked out for a long, long time. All we're doing now is kind of letting him understand, look, you're probably going to have to swing a little bit harder, and he has, and his speed's actually gone up this year, which is awesome. But it's trying to get them to stay in condition so that they're able to basically play 72 holes over a 30 tournament season. But it's definitely, you've got to be in shape. This golf course is a big walk as well. So things that we take for granted, you've got to be in shape because you've got to send the ball a long way.
Well, Mark, it was such a pleasure to have you on PGA Coaching Live. Thank you so much for all the great insight, and we so appreciate your time. And actually, we were discussing Nick Saban. Let's check out a little video of Mark Blackburn with Coach Saban.
You know, golf's kind of a metaphor of life. You hit it in the trap, you hit it in all these negative places, and you got to have a positive attitude about how to get out. Kind of like overcoming adversity in life.
You're the PGA Coach of the Year right here at your disposal. I don't know a whole lot, but I imagine that's not a cheap lesson.
No, probably not.
I want to see how the greatest college football coach ever, the GOAT, takes coaching. So let's hit a few. What do you see in coach's swing?
The only thing I would say, you want a combination of your body turning, and you don't want to pull your arms in, you want your arms to work around.
All right, take it back, but then you got to take it up.
There you go, really good. Once you put the club in the right position, you're going to react in the right way. Use your athleticism. Didn't quite pitch it up. Good transition, you didn't pitch the club up enough. There you go.
That's nice, man.
Way better.
You're working with professionals, and you're breaking down what they might not be doing correctly. What is that challenge? Inherently,
they're all really good because they have a PGA Tour card. But to get to be the really elite player, they have to refine the different areas of their game. And much like football, there are different things you need to do to be a complete player. The psychological part of golf is making them feel that they are able to accomplish anything in any situation. They're prepared, right? So they go to play golf. You never know what's going to happen. It's raining today. They got to be able to go out there and adapt.
You know, I think players have to get in a routine. When players know what's coming every day, they always seem to do the best. And I think that's what you're alluding to. If one of your players can stay in his routine,
100%.
In terms of preparation or whatever, know what to expect. I'm going to do this. I'm going to putt next. Whatever it is. Then that creates a comfort zone. Not so hard here when you're hitting balls. Really hard out there when you're competing.
Yeah, golf courses, that's hard because you got to look at the lie. What options do I have? The 14 clubs you got in your bag, how many shots can you hit out of those 14 clubs?
I have 16 clubs in my bag. I get away with that in Alabama.
I see all the PGA Tour players and I really want to be like them.
I just love seeing them play these beautiful courses and seeing their game blossom under such a perfect golfing environment.
I really like the short game area because, short game is one of the most important parts of the game. I really love how I get to improve and how I get to build on what I learn and getting to set goals and to see myself maybe even accomplish them. First time I took a swing, I thought, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can do this. As I practiced more and more, I just realized that it's a lot of fun to play it. I want to go chase my dreams and be able to, become a golfer one day.
And we welcome you back into our PGA Coaching live set, sponsored by Cadillac, right here on the Players Practice Range. And speaking of, we have a retired former PGA player and the host of Golf Subpar podcast, Colt Knost. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Wow, really appreciate it.
You said you're having a busy week. Take us through your week. What all are you up to?
Yeah, this is actually, I'm making my debut on CBS this week.
Congratulations.
Saturday, Sunday. I have ESPN. Thursday, Friday, Sirius XM, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then, as you mentioned, the Golf Subpar podcast. So it's a busy week, and I'm here with y'all.
And you just had Webb Simpson on your podcast?
He was this week's episode. Yeah, it was fantastic. He is. I don't think people realize Webb's actually a really, really funny guy.
Is he?
He's obviously one of the nicest guys out on tour, but he is very, very funny.
Well, let's talk about this course a little bit. I know you got to play 2 holes with Colin, and you talked about when you hit 14.
Yeah.
Look out.
It is. I mean, I said you got to buckle your chin strap when you get to 14 if the wind stays out of the east-southeast.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the first 4 on the back 9 are downwind, but then when you turn 14 through 18, it's like a totally different golf course. It is. I mean, it's long. It is hard. I mean, you really can't. There's nowhere to miss it.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see, like, if they move these tees around and stuff, which I think they should, or we're going to be out there for a very long time.
Well, we just had PGA National Coach and Teacher of the Year on, Mark Blackburn. We know you've been doing a lot of work with him. Tell us a little bit about your relationship with Mark and his coaching style.
Yeah, Mark has been great. I met him. I've known him for a long time, and I've always picked his brain about certain things. And then probably about 4 years ago, I started just hitting some balls with him, talking about things, and he helped me understand the golf swing so much. He's a very smart guy, obviously. Really pays attention to, you know, how your body works in the swing, which everyone's works differently.
Mm-hmm.
And certain people can do certain things, and I think he's great at that. I mean, if you look at the guys he works with out on tour, they all swing the club different,
Right.
Which is pretty normal, but he is just a fantastic guy. I loved working with him. You know, I don't get to play as much as I used to, so we don't spend a whole lot of time together, but I always love picking his brain.
Whereas I had one hand on the Havermeyer Trophy, you captured both hands on that thing back in 2000.
Well, I didn't have to play Tiger. There was a little difference there.
Very true, very true. But, yeah, you captured it in 2007 along with the U.S. Amateur Pub Links that same year. Great feat. But growing up, your influences and your game, obviously PGA Coaching Live channel, you have a lot of people that influenced your life to get to that point, and winning the U.S. Amateur at a young age as a collegiate at SMU, pretty heady stuff.
Yeah, it was so cool. I mean, Randy Smith was my guy growing up, and still is. I mean, I consider Randy a father figure to me. I met him when I was 16 years old. He was gracious enough to take me under his wing to a favor of a family friend of mine. Otherwise, I wouldn't have had that chance. And, you know, we hit it off from the start, and he helped me so much. I mean, he's the reason I was able to make it to the PGA Tour, the reason I won the USAM and all that, and I'll never be able to repay, you know, everything he's given to me. It's just awesome, and I still look up to him like a father, like I said, and love spending time with him, and I'm so happy for the success he's having with Scotty Scheffler, Ryan Palmer.
Yeah, no question. Now, you talked about funny people a moment ago. You're a super funny guy, not only with your podcast, but with your Sirius XM show, Gravy in the Sleeves. I listen to it all the time in the car. It's great stuff. How have you transitioned? How has this transition been for you from going from that PGA Tour player to now talking about the PGA Tour players?
I was very lucky, I feel like, because I feel like a lot of guys, you know, when their career is coming to an end, they're not sure what they're going to do. And I just happened to have this kind of fall in my lap where I had the Sirius XM thing. You know, the people at CBS gave me a chance to do a few things. And I kind of feel like, you know, golf set me up for this. This is what I was kind of meant to do. You know, I mean, as you know, like when I was out there playing, I was the guy, I mean, I would warm up. I'd be on the range for an hour, but I'd hit balls for 10 minutes because I was too busy talking to everyone, going back and forth and having fun with that. Tuesday was always my favorite day of the week because you get to play your money games, you get to talk trash and stuff like that. So I have had such a great, smooth transition. It has been a blast, and I love doing what I'm doing.
We just talked about Webb Simpson being your most recent guest. You know so many of these players so well. Tell us about who some of your favorite guests have been on your podcast and why.
Yeah, I mean, my best buddy out there on tour is Gary Woodland, so that's always a fun one. I mean, other than golfers, the guy named Mike Commodore, ex-hockey player, is the funniest episode. Tommy is. Everyone asks me, like, if I have an hour to kill, which one should I listen to? I'm like, Mike Commodore.
1000%.
But don't do it while you're driving because it might be dangerous because you're gonna be laughing so hard. He is great. We have one coming up with Xander Schauffele, which is great. Which is awesome. Kierdek off of Bonrot was one of my favorites. But they're all great.
Well, Colt Knost, thanks so much for joining us on PGA Coaching Live. We appreciate the time.
Thanks for having me.
Let's check in with Colin Morikawa and his coach, Rick Sessinghaus.
Colin, at an early age, we always talked about creativity. Specifically for Kiawah, it's about wind. Crosswinds, we have downwind, into the wind. You need to not only control direction, but you need to control height. So we're gonna hit 4 shots: high draw, low draw, high fade, low fade.
High draw it is. You have to have control of your golf ball, especially when you're warming up. And I love working it in with a 5-iron. It's a little easier.
So we got low draw here. You're seeing it, you're feeling it. Beautiful. So we know there's mechanical things that cause these things, but knowing you, a lot of that has to do with feel and the creativity of visualization, correct?
Club face and path and everything have to be right, but especially if I can't feel my body doing it, then I know I'm gonna have a problem. It's like gut feeling.
Now we go to the other side of the equation. We're gonna go high
easy
fade.
side.
The easy side. Great. So we have low fade. Beautiful.
Obviously, fades kind of work to my favor, so I know I have those down. But now being able to play a lot of courses that I've played before, I'm gonna need other shots.
We're gonna do one more shot. I'm gonna surprise you here. At the top of the swing, I'm gonna tell you draw or fade.
Take a nice slow back.
Draw. So we've done this before in the past. Sometimes we overthink it, but if you're an athlete and react, I think that can also help us understand club face control on that. So that looked awesome.
We are
the PGA team of 20.
the PGA team of 20.
We are PGA professionals from all across America. We serve many different roles across the golf industry. We're coaches,
Head professionals, directors of golf,
motivators, mentors, junior golf leaders.
and we all have one thing in common.
One thing in common, we're all players competing in the PGA Championship. For some, it's our first major. For others, we've been inside the ropes before. Our passion for the game never ends.
And our training never stops.
And as members of the team of 20, we can't wait.
We can't wait to play against the world's best.
The world's best. The world's best.
At the PGA Championship.
Greg Koch next to play out of the North Florida section.
I just qualified for my first PGA Championship, and I have so many questions. Where do I stay? How long do I want to be up there? What's the earliest we can get up to Kiawah and start practicing? Yeah, that's kind of the whirlwind, that I'm at is I have so many questions about what's next, so I'm going to have to call somebody. I don't even know who I'd call. I mean, do I call the pro shop? I doubt it. I've got a lot of thinking to do and planning, but, I'm sure it's going to be a cool process. I'm Greg Koch, and I'm a member of the PGA team of 20.
Hey Colin, it's Rick. Just to remind you that, hey, keep that driver grip nice and loose. Grip pressure is so important here to play your best golf. So let's loosen your grip, and that way you're going to control that club face and let that power come through.
We're here at the 18th hole at the Ocean Course. What a great finishing hole. One thing we always practice is loosening our grip. In practice, how do you loosen your grip? You tense up a lot, but it's also about being mentally free. And just know that I can hit a great shot, hit a great cut shot down that fairway. It allows me to relax, take my deep breath, loosen my grip, and just let go. Confidence is everything. Do you believe in yourself? Do you believe in your team, your equipment? Because if you don't have trust, you're never able to reach that one goal. Whether it's on the golf course or behind the wheel, I think if you believe in yourself, you're able to let go. Super Cruise? That's freaky. That's awesome, though. There it goes. Just a really smooth lane change, and it's actually exciting every time I do it. It's so much fun.
All right, Scott Walker and Joanna Coe here on the driving range for PGA Coaching Live. And Joanna, we've got a great look at the routine of Adam Scott here over the last few minutes. What have you seen about the way he's approached his practice?
So Adam looks like he's going through a few clubs in his bag. We've seen a driving iron, a couple fairway metals, and now driver. But what we found fascinating is that he's hitting all different ball flights. He's flighting them down, hitting them up in the air, hitting shots from right to left, left to right, picking different targets every time. Sometimes he's aiming on the right side of the range, about 10 flag poles in, sometimes left side of the range. So he's really varying his shot making right now, trying to simulate what he would do on the golf course here and a Wednesday right before the first first round.
Yeah, and he'll be able to play in a few minutes. It'll be interesting to see how Adam Scott approaches this, as he's been a top 3 finisher a couple of times in his 20 PGA championships. Let's get into a little bit more detail about Adam Scott's swing. And it's interesting here as he works with his coach, longtime coach Brad Malone. What are some of the things that you've seen that have been a hallmark of Adam Scott's swing?
Well, his setup, his golf swing is really a model for a lot of us golf coaches that we use on some video comparisons. I mean, his posture is just spectacular. His balance.
What makes it so good?
He's got, that perfect hip hinge, soft knee bend, very neutral spine. Doesn't look like it's difficult on his lower back. We call that either an S posture or S posture, or C or S. And it's very, very neutral, very safe on his back. And then as far as the plane of his swing, I mean, he is right up that plane line. He's working a little bit on his takeaway the last few minutes, looking like he's dragging the handle back with his hands a little bit. So I'm wondering whether that's to counter perhaps opening the club face a little bit too soon. It's called a little bit of a handle drag. So curious to find out more about that. But he's just a model as far as swing plane, rhythm, balance. It's just A+ across the board.
So he's going to play in a few minutes, and that'll be the last practice round he plays before his tee time tomorrow at 7:38 a.m. It's a little bit backwards than what some people would do. Some people would try to play in the morning. Is there one particular way to try to do that?
Well, I'm sure he definitely got an early round in, maybe earlier in the week. You want to try to match your sleeping patterns with your tee time. So if you think about 7:48 tee time, he's probably getting to the golf course 6:15, 6:30. So work backwards from there. You have to think about breakfast, his morning routine. So you have to get your body used to that. So I'm thinking earlier in the week he probably did that. And then also that afternoon tee time, you have to get used to maybe sleeping in a little bit more, adjusting your meal schedule, so you're not wasting all that energy in the morning. That's the most difficult part about the afternoon wave is holding on to that energy until the very last second.
Well, I'm thinking about tomorrow's breakfast actually right now too.
Wonderful.
I know, exactly. Well, as we look at Adam Scott, he'll be out on the golf course, and of course one of the more difficult holes out here is 17, and Joe Hallett is out there.
All right, we are here out on 17, the flagship, the signature hole of this wonderful, wonderful golf course. I want to point out a couple of things. We have a tee right over here, and we've watched some players hitting from that tee. Now, the distance off of that tee today is playing about 216 yards. The tee they're going to be playing for the championship is a little bit to your left, and I think we have some of our PGA team of 20 up there right now. But the distance they're playing from today is literally 230 yards. This is a tremendous golf hole, and what we'd like to do is just give you a chance to see the beauty of this 17th hole.
And we welcome you back to our PGA Coaching live set presented by Cadillac right here on the Players Practice Range, just steps from the Atlantic Ocean. And we are so excited to be joined once again by Dave Stockton, the captain of the 1991 Ryder Cup team, the War by the Shore for the United States, short game guru, two-time PGA championship winner. Let's talk about that Ryder Cup 30 years ago. Do you have a memory that stands out as your favorite?
Well, basically the fact that we brought the cup back to America. And the other thing that I was impressed by is that nobody could say who carried our team. It was a total team effort, everybody. And it was, I won't tell you it was easy.
I'm sure not.
With the limo wreck and other things that happened, but it was a unbelievable sensation to play Pete Dye's masterpiece here at Kiawah, and very, very hard. And I stood behind the first tee being very happy I got to talk to him and not have to hit any shots. Hard golf course.
The heart palpitations you must have had, right? You talked about the accident was a Steve Pate who was injured, couldn't play, I think, right, in the final.
Well, he couldn't play the final day, and I probably shouldn't have played him on Saturday. I mean, he had he'd hit the bar in the limo, the wooden or whatever it is. It was a gash way below his waist, But I put him out with Pavin, and they got beat 2-1 on Saturday afternoon, but he was so sore he couldn't have played.
From that moment, though, and then all the way to that final putt that we've relived over and over and over, I mean, what was the one thought that was going through your mind? Obviously, you never wish bad on somebody, on your opponents, to miss a putt, but in that respect, in that moment, it had to be some sort of just, please, let's make this happen. We fought so hard, and you had that one putt. It comes down to Bernhard Langer and make or miss.
Yeah, it was, but that wasn't my thought. My thought was we tried our best, and we're going to end up tied, and they're going to end up with the cup, which is we did the best we could. And if he had made it, I would hope that we would have been as good of losers as they were, because I don't think there was a loser, truthfully. I think the game of golf, and certainly the Ryder Cup, took a giant leap, being televised and people seeing the emotions, good, bad, or indifferent. I mean, there was just brilliant golf considering how hard the golf course was.
Well, you talked about taking a giant leap. This is PGA Coaching Live, presented by Cadillac. Let's take a giant leap into our short game right now. Okay. What do you want to show us here? You got a wedge in your hand.
Well, basically, I think one of the basic things most people have problems with is if they lack a part of their game that's important, is the short game. And you were talking to me about, what was your feeling?
Yeah, you said you can describe your short game as either a high shot or a low shot.
Right. And basically what that calls for is, if I'm going to a post that's out there, basically about 75% of the time I'm going to hit a low shot, and I may be using a 58 or 60-degree wedge. Still going to be a low shot. 25%, unless you're Phil Mickelson, that'll be your high shot. So when I work with Phil, I mean, we had some fun contests, because every shot he hits, he wants to hit high. So as soon as I'd beat him on one of the high ones, then I'd immediately try to go to low ones to have any kind of chance at all. And what I'm referring to is when you chip, basically, first of all, there's a massive difference between the pros and the amateurs that are just trying to learn the game. Most people walk up to this shot and they stand here and they'll choke down and they'll get all ready to hit it, and they almost look like they're not sure it's their ball. And I was taught to come in and pretend I was shaking hands with somebody in front of me, and I'd like to come in like this and then bend my knees, and I have this posture, okay? Because what happens, and that people better be aware of this, because a lot of people don't know why they can't finish a round. And generally, as you get tired, and when you get tired, you don't stand taller, you stand shorter. And when you stand shorter, your body is, let's say if I'm normally going to come in here, I'm here, but because this is important, I'm down here, I'm going to come up to hit this shot, and it's almost impossible.
So posture sorry to cut you off, but
yeah.
Posture very important, obviously. You were on yesterday when you were talking about putting and how you carry it with your left hand. Do you feel that's the same way, and that's how you control your trajectory in the chipping game?
Yes. Well, in the low part.
In the low shot, of course.
So, I mean, basically like the left-handed putter, I'm going to chip these shots with just my left hand. On the low shot, there's going to be no effort to help this thing up, because people tend to want to they want to help the ball up, but part of that is posture. What I would finish when I get ready to hit a shot in competition, I'll be ready to go. I don't choke down generally. I'm right here on the end of it, but I'll stand. My last move is to shake my shoulders and stand as tall as I can possibly stand, just reach down to it and let the club do the work. So I hit the shot where I'm trying to. Now I'm going to go to the next one, and if I do a clinic, what I will do is do that, hit the shot, the ball goes out low, and I'll hide it, because everybody always watches where the ball goes, and I'll ask them what I hit, and they say, well, you hit a sand wedge. I said, can you hit your sand wedge that low? And they go, no. Okay, so the very next ball is going to look like this. Straight up in the air, tremendous spin on it. That actually almost came backwards. It's because I'm finishing high. And one, my left hand has gone through and hasn't broken down at all, much like the putting. The other one, the left hand stops almost immediately, so the right hand can put all this loft on the club without you having to hoist it.
Do you have more pressure in your right or your left hand, or is it pretty equal?
No, left hand.
Left hand more dominant.
If I had my club here, one thing I do, and a lot of us do, we don't taper our grips much with our 58-degree wedge. My club's a little bit longer than yours, and I appreciate you letting me use yours, but mine is it doesn't taper down here, so my right hand, much like using a bigger grip with a putter,
right.
I don't have to grab the club hard at all with my right hand. It's very soft.
Brilliant.
My left hand, again, My left hand's going to do all the work to go through it. The right hand doesn't have a thing, and that's putting and chipping. Now, you go to the high, the rest of the game, boy, it's all right hand.
So for our viewers at home, the takeaway is you can think of your short game as either a high shot or a low shot.
One or the other. You don't hit the in-between. Precisely.
Dave Stockton, thank you so much for coming on again. We so appreciate your time, the guru of the short game. And now let's check in with the head pro at Kiawah Island Golf Resort, Stephen Youngener.
Hi, I'm Stephen Youngener, PGA head golf professional here at the Ocean Course. We're here at the 16th hole today in one of the very deepest bunkers or sandy areas that we have on the golf course. And there's a lot of unique features about the Ocean Course. It's all just part of the native environment that we have here. So it presents some challenges where sometimes you don't always have the greatest lie. The sand itself is not something you're used to. It's more of a sugar sand or a beach sand. So when we hit bunker shots here, because we do have that ability to take a practice swing and kind of test the sand, that's what we recommend everyone to do. So I'm going to do that here with this shot. Obviously this is a very challenging shot. We're very deep here. I'm going to take a quick practice swing and get sort of a feel for how hard or firm or soft the sand is. I'm going to step into the shot, and because this is such a deep shot, I'm going to try to open the face up as much as I can and swing through the shot. And I'm out, so that's the most important thing. I hope this coaching tip helps you next time you face a unique bunker shot like the ones here at Kiawah.
I'm PGA professional Michael Breed, standing on the 18th tee at the Ocean Course at Kiawah. And this is an intimidating tee shot, but you know what? We're downwind. And many times you get on tee shots that are downwind and you go, oh yeah, okay, I know it's a little bit tight up there, but I'm gonna hit it as hard as I can. I wanna show you how you don't have to swing harder, but you can generate greater distance. Here's how you do it. The first thing that you're gonna do is you're gonna make sure that you carry with you an extra long tee. So I've got two tees. These are the same tees, except one is about a ½ inch longer. That ½ inch is going to help me get this ball up into the air. That's a big part of being able to execute this tee shot properly. First, tee that thing up. Make sure that you've got it up into the air. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we want to launch this ball up into the air. In order to launch it up into the air, I want to do two things. I want to change the width of my stance, so I'm going to get a little bit wider, and then I want to change my posture. The P here of PGA, remember this, posture, we're going to alter the shoulders. So when I get set into here, wider stance, and I make sure that my shoulders are going in an upward direction, what I'm doing is I'm actually moving my ball position forward. And so now what's going to happen is that this driver is now going to be coming into the ball in an upward direction, which will launch it higher. And when we get it up into the air, now that wind is going to move it, and we're going to really hit one. I don't know if I can get to 300, but you know what? I'm going to try. So here we go. Two things. Width of stance is now a little bit wider. Shoulders are tilted up into the air like this. I've got the ball teed a little bit higher. Now, all I'm going to do is just make my normal swing, and we're going to hit this thing 330 yards, just like Rory McIlroy did back in 2012. And it's going down the fairway. The wind is moving it. Okay, it didn't go 300 yards. It only went 275, but you know what? It's a little bit farther than I normally hit it, and I'm really happy. I was able to get that ball up into the air. That thing apex is a little bit higher. Distance is waiting for you. All you have to do is make these alterations. Carry that tee that's a little bit longer. Make sure you widen up that stance, and then get your shoulders tilted this way. And when you tilt your shoulders into the sky, that ball's going up into the sky. That's how you can get a little bit more distance without swinging any harder.
All right, good tip from Michael Breed, of course. Scott Walker and Joanna Coe back with you on the range here for PGA Coaching Live. We've had a great look at Patrick Reed, who earlier had some warm-up, then went out on the golf course. What have you seen from his practice this time around? It's looked very focused.
It's a very focused practice for sure, much different than earlier and much different than what we just watched from Adam Scott. So you can see in the background, he has a station set up. So a block practice station here, a alignment stick on the ground, an alignment stick out in front of him. I stepped back behind him for a couple seconds and saw that he was starting the golf ball just right of the target line and turning it from right to left. So clearly working on a little bit of a draw here. He also had an alignment stick on in his right armpit, so probably feeling some kind of connection, perhaps working on the level of his elbows in the backswing, something like that. Also, his coach had an alignment stick on the right side of his head, so working on more of a centered pivot would be my guess. But very different practice setting here going into tomorrow's round.
His coach, Sean Hogan, working with him and making sure that he is really all set up here for his round tomorrow. Let's get a little bit more on the details of the swing here. And as you talked about the draw there with those irons, I mean, that's always been his bread and butter shot. A few times he'd try to cut some drivers. But what is it about having that shot shape that you can always go back to?
Sure, it's just probably, you know, even as a junior golfer, collegiate golfer, how he sees the golf course, how he sets up and frames the hole. So again, that was a beautiful hybrid, just starting a little bit right to left. So what's important to hit that draw is club face control. So that's why he has that alignment stick out in front of him. You know, the club face to hit that draw would be just open to the target line, but close to his path. So as long as he can control that club face, his bread and butter, that draw will be great for him.
So if you're someone playing at home and you're talking about controlling the club face, how do you feel that? That's one of the hardest things for amateurs.
It really is. I would recommend a bunch of three-quarter punch shots, but again, doing exactly what he's doing here with that alignment stick in the ground. And for the right-handed player, also feeling like the back of the left hand is the club face, and that is what is striking the golf ball, making sure the knuckles aren't turning down to the ground too much, or the knuckles up to the sky, which would be an open face. So there's a few things to work on that club face control.
You know, last question here, and for someone that's accomplished so much, who's made a few changes there to be able to succeed the way he wants to, how do you tweak something without changing who you are as a golfer?
You know, tweaking something for these guys at this level is just very, very minor. His golf swing doesn't look that much different from, you know, his junior days, but those minor adjustments will definitely suit him well for big events if he can just strike it well.
Well, he was a finisher tied for second, actually, at Quail Hollow in 2017. By the way, 17 is a hole he's already played. We're going to go back to 17 now and Joe Hallett, and really get a good look at how difficult that par 3 really is.
A good look at 17 nonetheless. We actually took a look at the tee and we saw the beauty of this hole. And I think the word I meant to say was terror. Because now as we look towards the green, you see the things that the players are going to face. Two things in particular. The wind is either going to be into the player's face, which makes the hole longer, or it's going to be coming off the ocean, which is going to tend to push the ball towards the left side of the green. And by the way, that's a green that goes away from you and goes down towards the water. If you didn't think this shot was hard enough, that one gets even harder. Here's an odd fact. The last 20 shots we've seen here have all hit the green. I can assure you that this hole is not quite that easy.
The 2008 PGA Championship was the only PGA I went to, and Oakland Hills is right down the street from where I live. It was really, really special. I love watching golf on TV, but to watch it in person is something else, and I was able to go, I think, 6 of the 7 days. And to watch Padraig make the putt, and I was greenside on 18, is just incredible. So it made the dream, you know, reality for me. I wanted to be that on that side of the ropes, and now here I am. I'm going to play in the PGA Championship this year, and you know, back in 2008, I was a spectator as a 13-year-old kid. It's pretty cool.
And we welcome you you back to our PGA Coaching Live set presented by Cadillac, and we're so excited to be joined by one of the team of 20 professional PGA members competing in the PGA Championship in 2021. Tim Pierce, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. This is awesome.
This is your first PGA Championship. What are your nerves like the day before it starts?
You know, so far it's been okay. You know, I've been able to play with some big names, and it's calmed me down a little bit, but tomorrow's going to be a totally different feeling. It's starting to kick in a little bit, but
yeah.
It'll be all right.
And
It'll
I know you just finished up a practice round.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on the course overall so far?
Tough, long. As long as I can keep it in the fairway, I feel like I'll have a pretty good chance. I got long irons into the greens, so it's going to be drivers and long irons. If that's okay, my short game is really, really good right now, so I'm ready to go. I just got to – it's the nerves, and it's hitting fairways, and we'll be okay.
As one of our team of 20 professionals here, you obviously don't have the chance every week to have these beautiful tour trucks at your disposal. Have you picked up any goodies to put in your bag?
Fresh grooves in the wedges.
Sweet.
So that's huge. I actually played 2 rounds with my old ones and 2 with the new ones, and it's a difference. You're going to need it. So that and a 5-wood shaft, so which I love. So we're ready to go. I'm all set.
Well, to be here like you are, you tied for 8th in the PGA Professional Championship in Port St. Lucie recently, birdieing the 71st hole, which is a really difficult par 3. What was your thoughts when you finished that round? And I mean, your first try, and then you're here.
Yeah, you know, I was able to go back and watch it, and you know, the broadcast only got me on the last 2 or 3 holes. The up and down roller coaster I went on that day was insane. The emotions up and down. I thought, you know, I wasn't going to make it. I was going to make it 10 different times. So when the final putt went in, it all released, and it was a fantastic feeling. Best feeling ever.
So your teammate from college, from Ferris State, Ben Cook,
yes,
is also one of the 20 PGA professionals playing in this event, and this is his 3rd straight. So you guys are the only 2 guys from Michigan in the field.
Yes.
What is some of the advice that he's given you ahead of your first PGA Championship?
You know, he's calming. We played 9 holes this morning, and you know, he's built like a tour pro. He's been here 3 times. Just his calmness and the way he practices around the greens, I learned a lot from. But Ben and I are pretty good friends. We haven't played a whole lot of golf together, but just the way he carries himself around here, and he knows a couple guys, it helps me out just to feel like I'm supposed to be here with him.
Well, you've got somebody really comfortable on the bag this week. You're director of instruction at your club, where you are the assistant A8 professional, Gary Bashford.
Yes.
How comfortable is that to have just a good buddy and somebody who knows your game so well?
You know, it's funny you say that. He's an Englishman, so he's got that calming English accent, and some of the things he say are really funny, and that I wouldn't pronounce it the way he does, but. Yeah, he's super calming. He's more of a mental guy than a swing guy. He'll check me if I need to, but you know, this close to the event, I was playing well, obviously 3 weeks ago. We're gonna try to keep that going, and you know, he's more of a mental. He makes me feel like I'm hitting balls at Birmingham and not here.
You were playing pretty well in your practice round. You wanted to zoom here so quickly.
Yes.
You came up 17 and 18. You played so quickly.
Yeah.
Talk us through what happened on those
so we
couple
played a little
holes.
speed golf, and the crowds were bigger, much bigger than the previous 7, but. I was able to hit a 3-wood in there on 17 and knock in a 20-footer, and I wanted to hit the tee shot on 18, obviously, and it wasn't such a great tee shot, but I hit another 3-wood up there to 4 feet, so and knocked that in and just walked right off, and I go, this is easy. What are you talking about? So
you're going to pick up. You could sell that for a lot of coin this week, Tim.
Let's hope that carries over. Well, Tim is 25 years old, but we have a little bit of footage from his 2nd birthday. Let's take a look at this. Safe to say the passion for golf started right away.
I got the celebrations down, too.
Do you have any recollection of this?
Very, very faint.
Yeah.
There's also a video of me stuffing my face into a cake. I think I remember that one.
And that's your mom there?
That's my aunt.
That's your aunt, okay.
They look the same and talk the same, but that's my Aunt Susan, yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
So
what a nice natural swing at the age of 2.
Yeah, they could not get the club out of my hands, so.
So adorable.
It was a blast.
Well, they're not going to get the club out of your hands this week at all either. Wow, that's
and they're all going to be here watching you, right?
Yes, yeah. It's so special. Yeah, like I tell everybody, you know, I'm happy for myself, but I'm happy for my family and my friends. But you know, all the members at Birmingham, they're just so geeked about it. So it's incredible. It's
well,
awesome.
Tim Pierce, thank you so much. We're so excited for you to compete in your first PGA Championship. Best of luck.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Let's send it out to our roving range team on the Players Practice Range.
All right, thank you. And we are in front of the 2017 champion of the PGA Championship, and that is Justin Thomas. And Joanna, tell us about what you've seen from Justin Thomas's practice here on Wednesday.
Sure. He just arrived a few minutes ago with his father, PGA professional Mike Thomas, and we just asked him, hey, what is Justin working on? And he said he's always working on his lines. So clearly he's just working on his start direction. He's got a lineman stick on the ground, making sure he's seeing that golf ball start right on line. And we know that Justin can dial in his numbers too, so he has TrackMan and GC Quad out there. So if he gets the ball started on line and hits his numbers, he's going to make a ton of birdies.
Let's go ahead and look at a little bit more detail about Justin Thomas. And again, one of the great things about watching him is every line looks precise, particularly as he's approaching greens.
It is. He can get on a run for sure with his ball striking. It's impressive. He works extremely hard at it, and they're just making sure that everything's dialed in for tomorrow.
What's the biggest thing that you think that amateurs can take away from what he does?
His practice plan. I mean, clearly working on his lines and numbers, precision, balance, tempo, rhythm. I also saw he actually just put a little bit of powder into water, something that's electrolytes. So he has his electrolytes going on, making sure he's nice and hydrated and feeling good for tomorrow.
This is a 7,800-yard golf course, and we forget that golf is a super athletic sport.
Mm-hmm.
How do you advise your students about that?
Yeah, you have to train like an athlete if you want to be an athlete on the golf course. So if you're that recreational golfer and, at the turn you're having a hot dog and a beer, your body's going to treat yourself that way. So, I always say balance yourself with carbs and proteins, making sure your blood sugar is right. So these players are definitely hydrating, making sure they're eating well to play at a high level.
Is it easier because his PGA coach, also his father, but obviously that long-time relationship, does it make it easier to have that consistency in the way that you approach the game?
I'm sure these players, it's all about routine and consistency, making sure that nothing is flustering them under pressure. So I'm sure it's a calming presence to have his father here with him.
What's one thing that we'll look at throughout the competition that starts tomorrow? If he's going well, what will you see?
I mean, typically he drives the golf ball long and pretty darn straight. So and he's one of the longest players in the world. So for him, that's going to be a huge advantage. And he can just get in a rhythm with his iron play. So if he hits it close, proximity to the hole is going to be huge for him. He can make a lot of birdies that way.
And interesting, he's working on short shots. As we look at his drop tracer data, the apex was actually pretty low. His last shot was about 66 feet high.
Mm-hmm.
How do you control the height of those shorter clubs?
Sure. The last few swings you saw a bit of an abbreviated follow-through, that three-quarter follow-through. So that's a good way to decrease that dynamic loft through impact, especially into the breeze.
We'll see if he's got that dialed in tomorrow, playing with Brooks Koepka and Rory McIlroy.
And welcome back to our PGA Coaching Live set right here on the Players Practice Range, brought to you by Cadillac. And I am joined now on set by Rich Jones. Rich, good to see you. And I know we've covered just about every part of the golf game on this show so far, but one thing we have not touched on is how to play an uneven lie.
Yeah, Melanie, good to be back on even lies, right? So we're in a perfect flat terrain condition here, and certainly the viewers at home have the same conditions, right? You're home, you're practicing. How do we recreate that uneven lies, right? So ball above your feet, ball below your feet, the side hill, uphill, all those variants. And today and this week, I think the players are going to probably, have a lot of those uneven lies to contend with.
Absolutely.
So we're going to go into some drills here just to kind of have you recreate, those uneven lies at home. I'm going to go, what I have here is a bucket, just a regular bucket. I'm going to go ahead and set up the golf ball in front of me. And the idea once you do this, because obviously if the ball is on a side hill, you want to be able to create and have your angles, line up with the hill. So you don't want to stay completely level. You want to be able to lean and have those angles with the direction where the hill is going. Now, before you go ahead and hit a golf ball, I like to do practice swings. So when you're practicing this, just be careful. I have a bucket there. I want you to set up and go ahead and tilt, just to kind of mirror that uneven lie that you're challenging yourself with. And go ahead and take a couple of practice swings. practice swings and just kind of feel that. When you get really comfortable, go ahead and put that golf ball, replace it at that spot, keep the leg there, and go ahead and just set up and just go right to it. Make that tilt with the hill and swing through. And those are good practice drills. Now I'm going to do another segment where I'm going to move the bucket on the other side to demonstrate a different angle or different lie. So I'm going to go ahead and put my right foot on the bucket. Now this is a little bit more difficult, so you want to be able to angle yourself, making sure that your tilt with the hill that you're facing or the challenge, and go ahead and take that practice swing. Practice swing, you don't want to stay level. You want to lean and make sure you stay in that same angle where that hill is. So I'm going to go ahead and try this, see if I can pull this off. So folks, those are good drills for you to take at home. You can do this on a completely flat terrain, use a bucket, and try to somehow get bring that uneven lies indoors where you can go ahead and practice those shots before you take it on the golf course.
All right, Rich Jones, always with the great insight. We've covered so much today, and we'll be back with more at 2 p.m. today. Be sure to join us on PGA Coaching Live, presented by Cadillac.